In life, we are always mesmerized by the unobtainable. A coveted lifestyle, a cush new job, or a special someone that we could just never seem to break through to. There's attraction in the unattainable, an allure that grabs hold of us and never seems to let go, a gravity that persists through the years. For a long time, China for me was just that, the unobtainable. This pull that was constantly at the back of my mind that never seemed to let go, no matter how many experiences I had or how much time went by. China is historically one of the world's most successful societies. From its ancient dynasties to its modern prowess, China's hard work, ingenuity, and relentless determination has carved its place in history. In the past 15 years, I've spent 2 short stints living in China. As it goes in life, neither time worked out as expected or as planned, but I was blessed to learn much from my time in China. This is what I learned living in China.
Okay, so the first thing that I learned living in China was togetherness. In China, there's a really great sense of togetherness. You can really feel that everybody in the country is unified. Everybody in the country is kind of working towards the same goals, is working towards the same mission. And you can really feel this sense of national cooperation. I think if you look at Western societies, we'll use America for an example, society is very, very divisive. People are split up according to special interest group. They're split according to political party. They're split according to race, sexual preference, all of these things that, typically divide people. And particularly, I would say, as a society, this really prevents people from understanding one another, from progressing together, and from being able to move forward and to accomplish things together as a people. But in China, you really have a great sense that everybody is one. Everybody is a member of the same community, and therefore everybody is hand in hand working towards the same goals with one another. And I think that really gives China the unique ability to accomplish great things together as a society. And you really get a sense that people are trying to help pull one another up and help to support one another. And I was actually watching a very interesting interview with a Chinese doctor, and they were asking him, during the pandemic situation, how is China able to, build this hospital within 10 days? This is something that could never be done in any other country. And the doctor said that, according to the Chinese mentality, they really like for, there to be one voice, for one person to be in charge. And then as a nation, everybody follows behind that one voice. And he said, imagine if you're driving a car. If you have one person driving the car, it's really easy to move forward. It's really easy to turn here, turn there, and to get to your destination. But if your car has many passengers and everybody has a steering wheel, everybody has a gas pedal, everybody has a brake, you're never going to get anywhere in life. And I think for me, this kind of quote really encapsulated that sense of togetherness that I felt when I was in China. The second thing that I learned living in China was the importance of a centralized government. The government in China is centralized, it's very powerful, and the government is able to take swift and quick actions in order to make mass improvements for the society and for all of its citizens. Again, take the recent, pandemic situation. When this thing broke out in China, because the government was centralized, it was able to mobilize doctors, it was able to mobilize nurses, it was able to mobilize construction in order to create new hospitals, to kind of commandeer hotels, and do everything possible that was necessary in order to take swift, immediate action and really start to knock this thing out on its butt. And you see countries like the United States, which really the centralized government has extremely limited power because everything is so split up with, state level leadership and local municipalities that nobody gets along, everybody's fighting against everything, everybody has a different idea, and the result is nothing ever gets done. The action is very slow, and we see when there is some type of national emergency or national situation where we really need government to have a very strong grip, have a very strong power so that action can be taken immediately, and there's just one voice to follow. That's really an impossibility in many countries that do not have a strong centralized government. So for me, I know this is a point which many people, criticize in the world, but if you actually look at what is the responsibility of government, it is to keep people safe and it is to help to improve people's lives. And I think the Chinese centralized government does an amazing job at both of these things. It keeps its citizens very safe, and at the same time, it has the strength and power to continuously develop the country to make lives better for everybody. And I think you see that on a yearly basis. The third thing that I learned in China is the importance of risk taking. Chinese society is one of the best places for ingenuity, for invention, just creation. And I think the best thing about it is that Chinese society, they're really willing to take risks. Not only do they develop technology and develop new ways, new methodologies to do something, but they're one of the few places in the world that are willing to implement that immediately and say, you know what, let's just try this and see what happens. I kind of compare that to my time in Japan. Japan is sort of renowned as this technological mecca, and it is true that Japan does develop a lot of technologies. They're very good when it comes to inventions and developing things in terms of tech, but the thing that Japan does not do well is integrate these things into society. Whereas China, whenever they, develop some type of new system, they're really at the forefront of saying, okay, you know what, we're going to isolate this particular area, we're going to isolate this city, we're going to, institute this system, we're going to try this out. And so you really see technology and new things. You see the Chinese government and the Chinese people taking the risk and saying, hey, you know what, we're not sure if this is going to work. Let's go ahead. Let's try this. Let's put this into one of our cities. Let's see how it goes. This could be a great benefit for our people. So you really see China be at the cutting edge of a lot of technological developments like 5G, which they just rolled out before any other country. They're really leading the world in terms of robotics and AI right now, and many other things. It's incredibly interesting, but I think that's really important is if we're going to develop new things that could potentially improve the lives of the world, that could potentially improve the lives of the citizens in our country. I think it's really important that we try those things, we experiment with those things, we put those things out into the world and see what it can bring back to us, see how it can positively affect the people and affect the world. And China is really doing a lot of that. They're experimenting with a lot of things that many other countries in the world and many other societies that they're adopting quickly after them, doing the hard work of experimenting and seeing how these technologies can benefit us. So I think risk-taking is certainly a very valuable thing that I learned during my time in China. And the final thing that I learned in China is kindness. Chinese people are incredibly kind. You honestly, you hear this, from a lot of countries. I think Chinese tourists in particularly, they get a really bad reputation, throughout the world. But seriously, let me tell you, when you are actually in China, you will find that people there are incredibly welcoming. They're incredibly kind. They are really interested in you learning about their country and learning about their language. They want to show you around. They want to invite you out for meals. They want you to be a part of their life. They want you to see what the real China is like, what the real Chinese people are like, what the real culture of the country is. And, both of the times that I lived in China, that's something. I was in Shanghai once, and I also was in Changsha. Those are the two places that I lived. And in both places, I felt incredibly welcomed. When I was meeting people, they treated me like family, like they always invited me out to eat. I tried to pay for their meals. They wouldn't allow me to pay. I mean, they really took care of me. Like, people I had just met, willing to come in and help me get my apartment set up. Just all kinds of really kind things. Like, in the most recent time that I was living in the south of China. I was living in Changsha. I remember I went to this big home supply store, and I was purchasing a lot of things because I was just getting my apartment set up, and I was going out and I had all these heavy things in a shopping cart, and this Chinese couple just walked up to me and they offered me to help carry all of my big boxes home. And I was just completely floored, at this level of kindness. They were just so incredibly nice. I mean, I've had other times where, I'm out shopping and I'm coming home with lots of bags. The taxi driver jumps out of the car and helps me carry all my bags and all my groceries upstairs into the house. I mean, you really see these things all the time. I mean, people in China, they are incredibly kind and they're incredibly welcoming. And they really want you to be a part of what is going on in the local society. And I can tell you, as a foreigner who's lived in Asia for 15 years, this is really not always the case. There's a lot of countries in Asia where being a foreigner will really kind of preclude you from feeling a part of the fabric of society. You kind of will always feel like an outsider. But I will say probably in China more than other places, I really felt that people wanted me to be a part of the country. They really wanted me to kind of absorb myself into their life and be a real part of what was going on in the country. And there's a certain level of kind of just comfort and good feeling that comes from that, not feeling like an outsider all the time and feeling welcomed into somebody's home, feeling welcomed into somebody's life. And it really helps you feel a lot more connected to the people. It helps you feel a lot more connected to the culture, and it helps you to feel more proud of where you live. So that about does it for today's video, guys. I would like to hear from you guys. If you've ever lived in China, I would really love to hear about your experiences now. How are your experiences living in the country? Where did you live? What are some of the things that you may miss about your life in China? Also, guys, as always, if you found this video helpful, if you enjoyed it, please go ahead and hit the little subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. Give me a big thumbs up for the video, and please comment below. Just help to share the channel around with your friends. I appreciate all the support as always, and until next time, guys, take it easy.